Hello everyone, my name is Kaminski. I'm a research assistant at the Mainz University of Applied Science in Germany. My research interests are in the overlapping field of social science and technology, and I'm also teaching an introductory course in geoinformatics. Today I want to talk about how the idea that maps shape our worldviews can be incorporated into the geoinformatics educational program. So maps are an essential part of our daily lives and routines. That is why the cartographers usually define good quality maps by its completeness of all essential geographic features. The major streets, landmarks, and public facilities, or geological formations, as we see on the right side. Furthermore, these features must be accurate labeled and their boundaries have to be precise. The color coding and signatures have to be easy to read and universally understandable. One could say that, well, maps have a hugely important function in our everyday life, whether they are guiding us from A to B or shaping our knowledge about geopolitics and the physical environments. Therefore, I think the teaching of the essential methodological skills of cartography seems very important. Teaching beyond those ideas, that would mean that educators need to stress that there are various stakeholders who may prioritize specific aspects on the map differently. For example, if you look at spatial planners, they may emphasize a more car-oriented road network, maybe for urban commuters. And when you look at voluntary mapping environmentalists or bike activists, they would prioritize walking, biking, public transport, or conservation areas. When we look at topographic maps, we also have prioritization of certain aspects, or let's say hidden information. That comes less obvious to the viewer's eye, or like J.B. Harley expressed it. This brown blot that marks a mountain has, for the casual eye, no other significance. Though 20 men or 10, or only one may have squandered life to climb it. This is a very poetical way of saying there is an overemphasis of certain aspects, while others are invisible. But you can say that those are, or they can happen on purpose, but they can also be unintentional. However, it has always an impact on how we perceive a space when we first look it up on a map. But when you look at the praxis, you see that creating a universally recognized symbol, for example, or say for a religious place of worship that includes a non-Christian signature, doesn't seem so easy at all. When we look at Klatzes and Perkins, who showed in their 2050 studies that there is an invisible mosque on the official map of the city of Mannheim, as you can see in the pictures. It's important to say that in academia, it is already acknowledged that map generalizations reduce real-world complexity, and that stakeholder groups may have different demands on what is shown on a map. This is also, or that leads to the definition or standardization of the International Organization of Standardization. In their ISO or ISO 19157, they highlight, or they already have highlighted the significance that there are user requirements and that they need to come together with product specifications coming from the map producers. Well, there are already guidelines, but I think with the guidelines there, we have our first problem, or we have a problem because the separations defined by the ISO between product requirements and user requirements. And I think this is an artificial distinction between on the one side we have the map producers creating technically flawless maps, and on the other side we have just the users who demand for different maps or for different content on a map. And I think to make this distinction, this is also a point who leads to overemphasis or underemphasis of certain elements on a map. Because I think it's not only due to the diversity of user requirements to which a producer must respond, but I think also the map producers have user requirements because they are embedded in their institutions, and those institutions are embedded in a broader social context. So all map producers are also map users, vice versa. So this artificial separation has an impact on the educational praxis. For example, I see often the preference for federal agency data over VGI producer data. So VGI means volunteered geographic information. This is OpenStreetMap and the like. While OpenStreetMap is a platform where contributors worldwide, often voluntary, provide geographical data, the federal agencies are mostly targeting governmental functions like land register, for example. And compared to that, they have to have a strict metadata, but the background from OpenStreetMap is a different one. They have a more flexible, democratic approach. They need to accommodate various map producers, what leads to, in the end, higher degree of inaccuracy, often less land coverage. Well, the point I want to make here is that not thinking about the background of these different actors and seeing both as producers, just producers, and not producers and users at the same time, one must be critical with OSM because it's incomplete, where they have incomplete sources, and they have a flexible mapping method. So finally, teaching beyond the curriculum of cartography means asking questions about the background and how and why maps are produced. So what is a critical understanding of cartography education? We think a good critical education is not about, or it's not just about teaching flawless techniques, but to give the students an understanding about how priorities on a map are set. And we think those ideas must intertwine with, traditional techniques to maintain readability and comprehensibility. But we think critical teaching or critical education must consider cartographic spaces not as entities, entities with underlying predefined metadata or with strict mapping schemas, but we need to, or students should see maps as products, social products embedded in the social strata, and also related to, to the needs of different social groups. But how to put this all into practice in the classroom? Well, the first step is still to teach the basic concepts in cartography. A teaching plan may begin with the historical introduction in the use of different maps. This could be followed by map projections in a historical sense, as well as in a technical sense. Because I think the students still need to learn different mapping techniques like signatures, points, lines, areas, diagrams, fonts, etc. This is followed by statistical fundamentals such as scale levels, class boundaries, or class formation. They also need to learn the layout rules, color choice, the color conventions, and the forms by which generalization is applied. And finally, nowadays, I think they should learn the web map basics like open source libraries. For example, Leaflet.js is a very important one, and the like. I think this would be a good foundation also to start with the first exercise. And the first exercise will be about sketch mapping exercise. The students are given a task to map their everyday perceptions on their daily use places. Sketch mapping is a participatory mapping method, usually used to map everyday places according to subjective perceptions. So in the end, the students have the task to group to 5 people, and they should use the open source geographic information system, GIS, and they should set 5 points each on the map for places who they feel comfortable, places who they don't like, and places who they find particular representative for a specific area. For example, for an urban area, those points will include attributes. For example, we want to know how typical they think those places are for the surrounding area. And furthermore, we want to name them those places. Is it a church? Is it a railway station? Or is it something else, some other landmark? And finally, we want to make them a statement. Is it a particular place or a particular special place for their everyday life? So in the next step, the students are encouraged to create a map from all of the group points. To do this, they could use QGIS, and furthermore, they should give all their signatures SVG symbols. They are free to decide kind of theme those signatures have, but they could also orient themselves on the attributes. They have already filled out the attribute, what the points are about. And this decision to give an appropriate signature can also base on their comments. And another thing they should do is apply appropriate coloring and a labeling to their signatures. Then we come to a more analytical part. The next part of the exercise is designed to help the students understand that maps are basically social and geographical imaginaries. So the next part will be about a semiological and iconological analysis and on the interpretative scheme of the art historian Erwin Panofsky, and combined with ideas from Orlowski and Geisel, especially their writings about spatial stories, telling stories with maps. So basically the maps are then discussed by the whole group, while each map of each group are shown on a large screen. Each group should present their map and tell the others their motives and the symbols, or why they have decided to use this symbol and not another symbol or a signature. For example, if they have used a symbol for transport, like to symbolize the main station, I, as a teacher, would ask them why they use this particular signature, or I would give them a list with alternative signatures and discuss possible new motives or possible conflicts with other icons, for example. They give the main station an icon that's very similar to a train, for example. And then we could change that icon with a shopping symbol, and then later change it with a surveillance camera symbol. And the teacher or I would always ask questions to provoke a discussion about the icons. For example, I would ask to which group the signature could be related to. So after that, in the next step, I would change the scale of the map and ask which of the former discussed symbols should be included in the map and why. And why. At this point, I think it's important to make clear to the students that it's not only a question of the scale that determines the map, what is shown, what's not, but it's rather the story that the map is supposed to tell. Therefore, I, as a teacher, would tell or would ask a question under what circumstances it would be useful to use or exclude a signature in general. A teacher could also apply this to maybe to the map center, to the map's projection in general, to the coloring, and also to the contrast. After those two exercises with a little input in theory, I hope the students are more aware of maps as social and geographical imaginaries. In the best case, they start to question maybe products from official maps. So the next step is a comparison between their sketch maps and mainstream maps like Google Maps or the like. They could ask for differences and similarities with the signatures, with the color coding, with the centering, and so on. And the teacher could also ask them, are all their needs are well reflected on the way the map is constructed? The main task of this last part of the exercise is to explore potential conflicts between different kind of maps. And I hope this can be a little easier with the critical map knowledge, not just in theory, but also in practice. And this last part should be an open field for further discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the lecture today. I tried not to discredit traditional mapping methods, but I tried rather to broaden them with ideas from human geography or from other social science. Our idea is that also cartographic spaces are made by the people. We try to broaden an idea of education that sees different social groups and take their distinct needs into account, but also see that those social groups tend to exclude information on maps, either intentionally or unintentionally. Or our point is that even though the production of maps, let's say, in a clean technical way is important, but it's also important to self-reflect or to reflect how people generalize their environment. So teaching beyond the cartography curriculum means that students should integrate those ideas of a broader understanding of space into, well, their education. because after all, they will be the spatial planners of the future. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you liked this little lecture. And well, I know you're watching this on YouTube, so if you liked it, if you really liked it, please leave a thumbs up. And if you want to have a discussion or a broader discussion, you can leave a comment in the discussion sector below. Thank you very much. Bye bye.